I first saw a tattered copy of Our Bodies, Ourselves in my roommate's book collection in college. It was just on her bookshelves, and I pulled it out and was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Wow, this is cool!" All this, I have a vagina.
I started working on reproductive health and sexuality in 2001 in New Delhi, India. And Our Bodies, Ourselves, the 1998 edition, was one of the first books that was handed over to me by my trainer and supervisor. And I remember my supervisor coming to me and saying, "If you know this book, you'll be fine."
My mom always had it in the house, and she showed it to me at a very young age.
The experience with the book was in the 1970s when this book came in English. And I read it. I read some of the parts in English. I had no idea that they had done, that it has been translated into different languages.
I was in the Peace Corps in Mongolia, and there's this library that all volunteers kind of, whenever they get books, they dump the books off in that library, and people can just kind of exchange books, and as the years goes on, the library gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And one day, I was just going through the library looking for just fun reads that I could take back with me to read at my site when I was bored, and I saw a copy of Our Bodies, Ourselves. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I might be able to actually use that for some of my work there. So I picked up the book and started thumbing through it, and it looked like a great book for purposes other than just dietary nutrition stuff, and so I took it back to site with me.
The other thing about the book that has been a real hallmark of every single book we've done is that it combines personal experiences of women with the best evidence we've garnered from research, from population-based studies, from epidemiology. It's drawn from the best literature and provided women with factual information as well as personal experiences.
People's stories about their health or their experiences with their body is a very powerful way of teaching, I think.
The pictures of the different women, pictures of women that were enjoying themselves, pictures of women that were happy about talking about the stories also. I like the stories. I remember reading the stories.
I felt weird because as a woman with a disability, I had to explain what my sexual needs were to anyone I wanted to sleep with, until I realized that everyone has to explain what their needs are in order to get them met.
I came away convinced that a simple mastectomy was the only sensible treatment. Then I went to Boston for a second opinion. It turned out that the other side was equally convincing. I felt like a statistic being wooed by both sides.
I had a home birth, and choosing this was never a question for me. I knew in my bones and flesh that this was the way I needed to approach my pregnancy and birth. I would have my baby in the warmth of my home.
I think it's made for everybody, and I think if you're 15 and you look at it, or if you're 21 and look at it, I think you feel the same level of comfort. It's people like yourself, so you don't have to feel a threat of that it's going to be too advanced or you're not going to understand it. It answers the questions that you needed to answer.
This book was written by women, for women, and about women, and that I like very much.